What if the most dangerous force in your life is not something done to you from the outside, but something being done to you from the inside, by someone who understands the architecture of your mind better than you do? Most people walk through life believing they are in control. They believe their decisions are their own, their desires authentic, their beliefs earned. But there is a shadow science, ancient in origin, invisible in execution, that has always known something about the human mind that the human mind does not know about itself. It is called manipulation. And the version of it you have been taught to recognize, the obvious, clumsy, transactional kind, is not the version that shapes civilizations, collapses relationships, and rewrites identity without leaving a fingerprint. What we are about to explore is the deeper layer. The psychological architecture behind influence so precise, so intimate, that the person being shaped never once suspects they are being shaped at all. This is not a warning. It is a revelation. Somewhere in the quiet corridors of your daily experience, there is a version of reality you are absolutely certain is true. You are certain about what you want, certain about what you deserve, certain about who you are, and who the people around you are. But reality, as psychology has slowly and uncomfortably revealed, is not something we perceive. It is something we construct. The mind does not receive the world as it is. It filters, edits, fills in the gaps, and delivers back to consciousness a version of events that is shaped entirely by prior belief, emotional history, and the stories we were taught to tell about ourselves. This is not a spiritual metaphor. This is neuroscience. Every perception you have ever had has been pre-processed by a nervous system that was itself shaped by years of experience, conditioning, reward, and pain. A skilled manipulator does not need to change the world around you. They only need to change the filters through which you experience it. And those filters, your fears, your needs, your identity, your hunger for love, approval, and certainty, are not hidden from them. They are visible, readable, usable. The mystery is not that manipulation exists. The mystery is that most people never ask the deeper question: why does it work? What is it inside the human mind that makes us so exquisitely vulnerable to the will of another? Here is the first truth that changes everything. You do not respond to reality. You respond to meaning. And meaning is almost never something you discover. It is something you are given, often by someone else, long before you had the wisdom to question it. From the earliest moments of life, the human mind is trained, not by education, but by repetition, emotion, and survival. A child who learns that love is conditional begins to build an internal architecture around earning approval. A child who learns that danger is unpredictable builds a nervous system wired for hypervigilance. These are not choices. They are adaptations. But here is where it becomes profound. These internal patterns, these invisible blueprints for how life works, do not disappear when you become an adult. They go underground. They become the operating system running silently beneath every thought, every relationship, every decision you believe you are making freely. And a dark psychologist, whether a cult leader, a narcissist, an advertiser, or a lover, does not attack the conscious mind. The conscious mind is too guarded, too rational, too proud to surrender easily. Instead, they speak directly to the pattern. They find the wound, the need, the hunger, and they become the answer to it. This is why manipulation does not feel like manipulation. It feels like finally being understood. Nicolau Maquiavel nasceu em Florença no século XV, numa época em que o poder era nu, brutal e sem desculpas. Ele observou príncipes ascenderem e caírem, repúblicas serem fundadas e destruídas, e a humanidade em seu estado mais honesto e mais perigoso, em busca de controle. O que ele escreveu em O Príncipe não era um manual do mal. Era algo muito mais perturbador. Era a verdade. Maquiavel compreendeu que o poder raramente funciona através da força bruta. Os governantes mais duradouros, os que moldavam nações, conquistavam lealdades e reescreviam realidades, faziam isso através da percepção. Não era o que eles eram que importava, era o que as pessoas acreditavam que eles eram. É melhor ser temido do que amado, ele observou, não como glorificação da crueldade, mas como uma análise clínica da natureza humana. O amor, ele argumentava, é condicional. Depende da gratidão, da reciprocidade, do humor de quem o oferece. O medo, por sua vez, é constante. É inscrito no sistema nervoso. Não precisa ser renovado a cada dia. Mas o insight mais devastador de Maquiavel não era sobre o medo. Era sobre a aparência. Um príncipe não precisa ter todas as virtudes. Ele precisa apenas parecer tê-las. A misericórdia, a honestidade, a piedade, a lealdade, todas devem ser exibidas, mesmo quando ausentes, porque o vulgo julga pelos olhos, não pelas mãos. E os olhos são os primeiros a serem enganados. Esta é a anatomia da manipulação em sua forma mais refinada. Não é a realidade que move as massas, é a narrativa construída em torno dela. E quem controla a narrativa, controla o mundo interior de quem a recebe. To understand the dark psychology of manipulation at its deepest level, we must understand how the human mind actually operates, not as we wish it to, but as it does. The subconscious mind is not a passive storage unit. It is an active, relentless pattern-matching machine, running approximately 11 million bits of information per second, compared to the conscious mind's 40 bits. This means that 99.9% of your processing, your emotional reactions, your impulses, and your behavioral tendencies are happening below the threshold of your awareness. The subconscious speaks in the language of emotion, image, and symbol, not logic. And it has one primary directive: protect the identity it has been trained to maintain. Whatever you believe yourself to be, worthy or unworthy, lovable or fundamentally flawed, powerful or powerless, the subconscious will organize your perception of reality to confirm it. Psychologists call this confirmation bias, but it goes deeper than a cognitive error. It is identity preservation. The mind would rather distort reality than dismantle the self. This is the landscape that dark psychology navigates. The skilled manipulator identifies your core beliefs, especially the painful ones, and uses them as anchors. If you believe you are not enough, they become the one person who makes you feel like enough. If you fear abandonment, they become both the threat of it and the relief from it, keeping you perpetually off balance, perpetually seeking their approval, perpetually unable to see clearly. The emotional brain, activated and flooded, disables the prefrontal cortex, the seat of rational thought and long-term reasoning. In that state, you are not choosing. You are reacting. And in that reaction, the manipulator finds their leverage, and now we arrive at the hidden law. The revelation that changes not only how you see manipulation, but how you see yourself. Dark psychology does not create vulnerability in you. It finds the vulnerability that was already there, the wound that was never tended, the need that was never met, the identity that was never fully formed. It is a system that operates by locating the gap between who you are and who you desperately wish you were, and then inhabiting that gap. This means that the truest defense against manipulation is not suspicion. It is not cynicism. It is not building walls. Those are surface-level responses to a deep-level problem, and they fail because a sophisticated manipulator does not attack through your defenses. They are invited in through your longing. The revelation is this: you cannot be manipulated through a wound you have healed. You cannot be controlled through a need you have honestly acknowledged and consciously chosen to meet. You cannot be reshaped through an identity that you have examined, owned, and committed to. The true power of the manipulator is borrowed power, borrowed from the unexamined parts of the person being manipulated. When you reclaim those parts, when you bring awareness to what was hidden, when you meet your own needs with the clarity and compassion you were searching for in another, the leverage disappears. Not because the world becomes less dangerous, but because you become less available. This is the deepest irony of dark psychology. Its ultimate teacher is not the manipulator. It is the mirror they hold up to the unexamined self. So how does one actually begin to live this understanding, not as a concept, but as a practice? The first tool is radical self-observation, not self-criticism, observation. Begin to watch your emotional reactions with the same curiosity a scientist might bring to a phenomenon. When you feel a sudden and overwhelming need to please someone, ask, where does this live in me? When you feel the irrational pull toward a person or situation that you know is not good for you, do not suppress it. Trace it. Follow it inward, and ask what story it is telling about who you are. The second tool is naming your needs honestly. Manipulation operates in the gap between what you need and what you are willing to admit you need. Close that gap. If you need connection, say so, to yourself first. If you need validation, approval, certainty, or love, acknowledge it without shame. A need that is named loses its power to be exploited. The third tool is learning to tolerate discomfort. The most potent manipulation always comes attached to relief. Relief from loneliness, from uncertainty, from fear. The ability to sit with discomfort without immediately reaching for the nearest solution is one of the most powerful psychological skills a human being can develop. It creates space between stimulus and response, and in that space, clarity lives. The fourth tool is identity work. Know what you believe and why. Know what you value and how you came to value it. An identity built consciously, examined and re-examined, is far harder to dismantle than one inherited unconsciously from childhood or culture. Awareness is not armor. It is something rarer and more powerful. It is light. And manipulation, at its core, is a creature of darkness. It cannot survive being truly, honestly, compassionately seen. We began by asking why manipulation works, and the answer, when followed to its source, is both humbling and liberating. It works because we are human, because we are built for connection, for meaning, for identity, for love, and because those hungers, when unexamined, become the very pathways through which another's will can enter and quietly remake our own. But the same truth that exposes our vulnerability also reveals our potential. The examined life, the life in which hidden wounds are met with courage, needs are acknowledged with honesty, and identity is built with intention, is not a life without influence. It is a life in which influence must earn its entry. You were never simply a target. You were always also the observer. And the moment you step fully into that role, watching, feeling, questioning, choosing, the architecture of manipulation loses its foundation. The world you experience is not something happening to you. It is something unfolding through the mind that observes it.